Chapter 3, Born Too Slow, by the Crystal Method. We came down the Oak Street exit on the left. "Be careful with this merge," Cal said, pointing as we transitioned. We took a right onto Broadway, followed by another quick turn, and pulled into the Club Diablo's lot. I paid the attendant $5, and we walked toward the bar's dingy black door. The bouncer was a tall man in a black shirt emblazoned with the Diablo Devil. He let the others through without a word, but stopped me to ask for identification. I handed him my chalked license, my chest tightening with the fear he'd noticed the fake. Instead, he just glanced at it and handed it back. We were in. Inside, the DJ was jamming out dark, low, grungy beats. Then Born Too Slow started to play. The club was a cavern of dim, moody light, splashes of red for ambience illuminating dark red chairs scattered throughout the room. The red light seemed to bleed off the furniture, staining the air like smoke. I walked up to the bar where Cal already had shots waiting for us. I'd done shots earlier and could still recall the way the liquid burned down my throat. It always made me feel like I was going to throw up. Factually, I had in the past. Cal waved me over. "Let's grow some hair on this boy's chest," he joked. I hated being called young, or wet behind the ears, or too green. I disliked people pointing out my age, but I didn't say anything. "Let's do it," Peter said. I grabbed my glass. We lifted our shots for a toast, tapped them back down on the bar, and knocked them back. Just as I remembered, it burnt awfully. Born just a little too slow. The song pulsed on. At the back of the club, a man danced on stage, stretching his legs out like a spider as he moved from left to right. His hands flopped back and forth, similar to a go-go girl. To his right was a girl in a bloody wedding dress and 6-inch platform boots. Her ears were gauged into huge circles. I had gauged mine to a 4, but you could fit several fingers through hers. As she spun, the white of her dress seemed to leave a ghost image behind her, a trailing blur in the red light. She danced like she was in a trance, spinning in circles with her hands waving in the air like a figure skater. Cal grabbed me by the shoulders and handed me a second shot. Down it went. He laughed, and we joined the dance floor. I was cautious, just leaning left to right and bopping my head, but Cal was more animated. With one hand up, he began cutting his way toward the stage where the DJ was playing. I watched him navigate the crowd until Peter came up beside me. Peter was smiling, his hand extended. "Here, eat this," he said, offering me some chocolate. I thanked him and ate it. It tasted earthy, dark, and rich, coating my tongue. We joined Cal in the thick of the crowd and started jumping up and down. The music seemed to get louder. Light from the par can streaked around in different colors. Suddenly, the lights started to linger, almost as if they were moving in slow motion. The air began to feel thick, like I was moving through waist-deep water. I started laughing uncontrollably. I began to bop around more, swinging my arms. My hands felt like they weren't entirely attached to my body. Peter worked his way back to the bar while Cal called me over. Just a little too. The music jammed. Cal kept waving his arm, gesturing for me to join him. I reached Cal and Peter, who were jumping in rhythm. The music grew even louder. In the smoky room, the lights were popping everywhere, a red one to my left, a blue one cutting through the red like an X, and green flashes hitting me directly in the eyes. The green light didn't just flash. It felt like it hummed against my skin. The next thing I noticed, I was jumping right along with them. Born just a little too slow. The singer belted through the large looming speakers flanking the stage. The bass was so heavy It felt like the floor was breathing beneath my feet. I decided to head to the restroom. "Cal, where is the bathroom?" He pointed toward a pathway to the left of the stage. As I made my way through the crowd, a girl in a black corset grabbed my hand. I danced with her for a moment. She pulled me closer, grabbing the collar of my shirt to bring us face to face, and kissed me. It felt magical. Her lips were warm and moist. When I closed my eyes, I saw geometric patterns of red and gold swirling behind my eyelids. When I opened them, her large brown eyes were gazing right through me. She laughed, and I continued toward the bathroom. I wasn't in great need, but I went anyway. I waited in line until I reached the small room, where a large red-headed bouncer stood watching the club's back door. His orange hair seemed to glow, vibrating with a life of its own. Inside, I stood at the urinal. Everything seemed to be moving in slow motion. I moved to the sink to wash my hands, but decided against touching it after seeing that someone had thrown up there. I looked into the faded metal mirror, trying to make out my face. The metal surface seemed to ripple like water. It was blurry at first, but once it cleared, I got a good look at myself. My eyes were so dilated I couldn't see any of the color, just two infinite black pits staring back at me. I laughed at my reflection and headed back out through the crowd. Peter found me immediately. "How did you like the chocolate?" he inquired. "It was tasty," I said. I looked at the flashing strobe light. My hand seemed to disappear and reappear somewhere else. Every movement left a trail of light behind it, like a sparkler in the dark. Every time the light flashed back on, the dancers around me were in entirely different positions, frozen like statues before dissolving into the next movement. Peter asked again, "How did you like the chocolate? It's got magic mushrooms in it." He started laughing. The music and the lights kept echoing. Their delayed, extended noises were becoming so much fun. The sounds weren't just coming from the speakers anymore. I could feel the melody vibrating in my teeth. After a few hours of dancing, we returned to Cal's house with some girls he had picked up. The car was packed with the 5 of us, but since the girls were small, they fit fine. The patterns on the girl's plaid skirt seemed to march and shift as I watched them. One wore a black U-neck T-shirt. The other wore a black and red dress cut just above the knee. When we got back to Cal's, I was exhausted. The guys took the girls to their rooms. I could hear them through the thin walls. The sounds of the house felt amplified, every creak of the floorboard sounding like a drum. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep, knowing I had to be at the concert by 3 sharp p.m. I woke up at 10 and said my goodbyes. Before I left, Cal and Peter pulled me aside. "In this first aid kit is everything you need in case of an emergency, understand?" Cal winked and tucked the kit into my center console. As I got into my car, they both started chanting, "Get some, get some." It made me laugh to think how silly they were, good people to know. As I began the ride to Columbus, Ohio, the echoes of last night's lyrics played in my head. Born just a little too slow.